angels, it's Hailey Reese, and today's video is going to be yet another video in my haunted house series. I am truly, from the bottom of my heart, so sorry that I have not posted in 6 days. That honestly feels like a lifetime to me, and I'm sure that it feels like a lifetime to those of you who are looking forward to my videos. But genuinely, you guys, I have so many big things in the works for this channel. As you guys know, I am filming my past life regression this week. I'm getting that up for you this week, and I have a couple other secret projects that I think you guys are just going to absolutely love that I've been working on. So please trust that it is all because I am working on bigger and better things for you guys, but I promise you from the bottom of my heart, you will never have to wait that long for another video again. Before we get into this video, I just want to say, if you are new to my channel, hello, my name is Hailey. I post a ton of videos. My family here is called the Reese's Pieces. They are freaking awesome, and I love them so much from the bottom of my heart. Each and every one of them is truly so kind and wise and open-minded and just absolutely incredible. So if you're looking for a family to join and you enjoy my videos, we would definitely really love if you would stick around and click that subscribe button. So please do that, and let's get into this video. So today's video is yet another video that I didn't plan for a long period of time to film. It kind of just came to me today when I was like, I need to film a video. I want to give them something in the haunted house series. What do I do? So I'm thinking about this for about 2 days. So like 2 days ago I was thinking about this, and then last night I have a dream, and my invisible friend that I mentioned in my previous video was in it. I wake up feeling a little bit weird because it's been a very long time since I have seen, spoke to, communicated with this invisible friend of mine. And then I look through all of my comments this morning, and I see so many of you asking more questions about this invisible friend and about the entire story. So I figured, why not tell you guys the entire story of this invisible friend and how I came to find out that she was in fact not just an invisible friend, and that I was in fact telling the truth when I told everybody in my household I was speaking to a dead girl. I promise you guys I'm not crazy. I mean, I know that my Reese's Pieces know that I'm not crazy, and hopefully they know I'm not crazy. But truly, you guys, this is an experience of mine from my childhood. For those of you who are skeptic, you can totally play it off as a kid with a crazy imagination. I definitely did have a crazy imagination, but I remember what I remember. This is my truth, and if you think I'm crazy, please just chalk it up to a child's imagination. That'll make me feel a little bit better. So this haunted house that I grew up in, for those of you who are new, I will link the previous videos down below. Like we mentioned, it had a vortex, it had a portal to other dimensions. So in my childhood, there were a lot of children ghosts that came in and out. If you guys want to hear more about a group of them that we had, leave a comment down below letting me know, and I will film that for another video this week. But there were always children ghosts coming in and out of this house. One of the days when I was little, and I honestly can't tell you guys the exact time frame, I don't even remember the first encounter that I had with any of these ghosts. There are two that I'm going to tell you about. I don't remember my first encounter with them, to be entirely honest with you. I just remember like the stories along the line and the things that I did and said and what ended up happening. So I'm going to say that I was 5 years old the first time that I saw this one particular little girl ghost, but don't hold me to the exact date. So one day I'm playing and I'm in the basement, and out of the laundry room, what I saw as a kid was a little girl who looked a lot like me. She was around my age, which was give or take 5 years old. She had blonde hair. I think she had blue eyes. My eyes are green, but I think she had blue eyes. And I specifically remember, gives me a weird feeling, she wore a purple dress. And this little girl's name is actually quite funny. My dad used to always not make fun, this is so mean, but whenever I would tell my dad I was playing with her, he would make jokes. So her name was Cassadia, but like it was Cassidy and then so Cassadia. And whenever I would tell my dad that Cassadia was coming over, or I was playing with Cassadia, he would say, "Oh, where's the little fajita?" Because quesadillas are obviously like Mexican food. So anyway, so this one little girl that I started to play with, which was my invisible friend, my very first invisible friend that I really played with often, was named Cassidy, we'll call her. And so I called her Cassidia, but we'll call her Cassidy because it sounds a little bit more normal for this video. And so I would always play with this little girl named Cassidy. And truly, you guys, there was nothing strange about me playing with this invisible friend. I think my grandma always had a sneaking suspicion, just because she knew the history of the house and all of that it was more than just an invisible friend, but my parents definitely chalked it up to an invisible friend. We would just play normally. I would invite her over to my house. We would play. I would ask for an extra plate of food for her. She would eat it. We would play together, talk together, joke together, laugh together, everything that little girls do with their invisible friends. So I asked my grandma exactly, because I had a memory of this one particular day, but I asked her how she remembers it, and she says that I came up to her one day and said, "Grandma, I want to introduce you to somebody." And Grandma's like, "Who do you want to introduce me to?" And I said, "This is Cassidy's friend, Sam. She met her next door." So my grandma goes, "Really?" And my grandma always played along with me, even though she could not see neither Cassidy or Sam. She's like, "Hello, Sam, nice to meet you, whatever." And I said, "Grandma, is it okay if Sam stays here?" And so my grandma says, "Well, where are Sam's parents?" And I said, "Sam's parents aren't there anymore." And this should have been a bit of a red flag, but my grandma was so used to me talking about fairies, gnomes, all this crazy stuff that she was just like, okay. So she re-asks me, "Sam lives next door and you want Sam to stay here?" And I said, "Yes, please." Nobody could see Sam, nobody could see Cassidy, nobody could see any of my friends. So my grandma's like, "Sure, Sam can stay here." And from that day on, I was always playing with Cassidia and Sam. So we were always playing together and always playing outside. And fast forward to a few years later, I'm around 8 years old. Now I am 4.5 years older than my sister. So my sister would have been around 4 years old. So I'm playing outside and my sister comes out, and I mentioned this in my last video, but I'm gonna give you guys more details and explain it a little better in this one. My sister comes outside and my sister's asking me, "Hailey, like, I wanna play with you." And I said, "You can't play with us." And my sister begged and begged and begged to play with me, Cassidy, and Sam. And so I said, "Fine, you can play with us." So we're playing outside, and finally my sister says, "This is no fun, I don't see them." And I said, "You wouldn't see them, silly. They're dead." So my sister gets really, really freaked out, and she runs inside to tell my mom that I'm playing with a dead girl. So my mom comes outside and starts to quiz me. I start to tell her how Cassidy came from the laundry room in the basement and how she had passed away years before. So my mom starts to get a little bit freaked out, just because my mom is more skeptical. Even to this day, she's still pretty skeptical when it comes to certain things. And so my mom says to me, "Okay, baby, and what happened to Sam?" And so I start to tell her this story about how Sam was in a car with her parents and they got into a really bad car accident that hit Sam's door where her seat was. And so I start to go on about how Sam had died right then and there, and how her parents had survived, and how she was now passed over, and that she had met Cassidia because they lived next door. Cassidia introduced her to me, and I said that she could live here. So now my mom is super freaked out, and she goes to my grandma, who's more open-minded and very wise when it comes to anything on the other side and anything to do with these things. And they start to have a talk. And I only heard really about this talk and what's to come after the fact, but they start to have this talk. And so they start to talk about how my mom thinks that something is wrong with me, and I'm starting to tell these stories that are very, very crazy. And they kind of play it up that maybe I'd seen it on TV and it was my imagination and whatever else. So they let it go, and they let me continue to play with these ghosts. Now this is around the time where the children ghosts that I had mentioned earlier in the video start to come into play, and a lot of really crazy, strange things happen, but that is another story for another time. Maybe a month or two later, maybe even 3 months later, they started to forget that that whole incident had even happened. And I'm going for a walk with my grandma, and I would have been around 8 years old. So I'm going for this walk with my grandma, and I'm hugging every single tree. I always did that. I was a tree hugger. I was really, really in love with nature and trees, and I would just hug every tree, and I had to tell every single tree how much I loved it. Well, we get up a few houses up the street, and I can't remember exactly, but I want to say like 6 or 7 houses up the street, more so 6. It was closer than that. And there's a woman on her porch, and I go up and I hug the tree and I say, I love you. And obviously my grandma makes small talk with her, saying, you know, she loves the tree, she hugs them, and the woman's saying that's so sweet. They get to talking as adults do, and the woman asks my grandma which house we live in. So my grandma tells her which house we live in, and she starts to tell my grandma a story about how our neighbor years before used to have a little girl that would have been around my age, and how they had gotten into a really bad car accident and actually lost their daughter. And this woman says how the family had ended up moving away, and now the new people that lived there had no children. She's so happy to see that there are more little kids starting to come to the neighborhood, because that was just like a really scary and sad and traumatizing time. Well, it hits my grandma right away that I had said that I invited a little girl who had died in a car accident to live in our house because she lived next door, but her parents no longer lived there. So my grandma's brain starts to go, and she's starting to get not freaked out, but a little bit, yeah, probably freaked out, because I'm around 8 years old and I'm talking about a little girl who I have now invited to stay in our house with us, and my grandma extended the invitation because she had no idea that I was really talking to a little girl. So in my last video, the story ended around there because I told you guys how I had predicted that. But that was not the end of me playing with these invisible friends. The crazy thing about these invisible friends was when we later moved out of my grandma's house, so when my mom had got her own place, because like I have told you guys in the past, we lived with my grandparents for a majority of my childhood, and eventually my mom ended up getting us our own place. When we moved to our own place, my two invisible friends ended up following me. Actually, quite a few of the children ended up following me. So I would see them and play with them in my other home too, which is actually quite interesting because a lot of the other things that have happened in that house and the other things that I'm gonna tell you, they stayed in the house. But these children, they followed me to my other house. I honestly played with these invisible friends for years. I would come home from school, you guys are gonna think I'm so lame, and I used to love to teach, and I used to love to speak, and I wanted to be like my teacher because I wanted to be impactful like her. And I used to come home from school, and my mom and my grandma will attest to this. This was 1000% what I did. Close my bedroom door and teach my ghost friends what I learned that day. And when my grandma and my mom would come in and ask me who I'm talking to and why I'm teaching them, I would say that Cassadia and Sam thought that it was a good idea that I teach them because a lot of them didn't end up getting to finish school because they died too early. Like guys, I probably freaked so many people out. The crazy thing about this is I have a memory, and this is the memory that was replayed in my dream last night that encouraged me to film this video, of me being maybe around 12 years old and having a talk with my friends and them telling me that I was getting too old now and I couldn't play with them anymore, and that they would always be around and there for me, but I couldn't see them the way I saw them then. Because I truly, from what I remember as a child with the imagination that I had, saw them like I would see you. Like I saw them there like I saw my sister. And so it's crazy that all of a sudden they had this talk with me that they could no longer be around in that way. So it makes me wonder, like, do spirits and ghosts pick and choose when you see them? I don't know. I'm gonna explain them both to you. I know I kind of explained Cassidy to you guys in the beginning, but I'm gonna explain them both just to give you kind of a visual. So Cassadia, I know that's such a, I know it sounds like a made-up name, but anyways. She was blonde-haired, blue-eyed, she wore a purple dress, fair-skinned, she reminded me a lot of myself. Sam had long red hair, these nice hazel green eyes, also fair-skinned but lots of freckles, and she wore these blue overalls with these like white sneakers. So it's crazy that I still remember this to this day, and I still remember them having the talk with me saying that I was getting too old and I couldn't play with them anymore, and then I never saw them again. Up until I had that dream, right when I was saying, oh, what video am I gonna film? Which story should I tell them? Because I have genuinely so many stories, and it's hard for me to choose which ones to tell next, and I just want to share them all with you guys, and it's just, it's wild that dream came to light. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Do you think I was just a little girl with a crazy imagination like I probably seem to be from all of these videos? Or do you think that maybe the story was completely true? I mean, what are the odds that I told the exact story that the old woman told my grandma, and I only found that out years later when we started to talk about my invisible friends, and I tried to tell my grandma, I believe that story, I believe that I saw them, I still remember, and she said, it's funny you say that because it was true. I think it's crazy that I'm 21 and I still remember what they wore and what they looked like, and it's not like it's a memory that I had made up. It's something that I've carried with me throughout the years, so it's definitely something that I believe, but hey, you're talking to a girl who believes in fairies and gnomes, so take it for what it is, guys. I truly love you guys so much, and I really appreciate you for sticking by me and subscribing and continuing to show me nothing but love and the utmost support. It means the world to me. I am so loving creating more content for this channel. I'm loving getting to know you guys and building this family, and from the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you enough for showing me so much love. Truly, I truly cannot. If you guys enjoyed today's video and you would like to see some more videos from me, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. I have some really, really amazing videos coming this week, and I really don't want you to miss them. And please give this video a big thumbs up. Like I always say, it makes me super happy when you do that, so please do that if you did enjoy it. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness. And until next time, love you.